It's always weird. It's always weird when they intro me and you come out first.
Yeah.
He's changed so much since they took that editorial photo.
It's like he's really going for it in some capacity.
How have you had a chance to check out the show floor at all yet?
No.
You were stopped for photographs like 50 times.
Well, I mean, yeah, I pay for that service, but as I was walking through, I was just like, like, so I was just like running late, and I just wanted to stop at everything, and so I'm really looking forward to going out there after this. So let's hurry up. No, just kidding.
I actually spoke to Pebble backstage and asked them to hang out because
Thank you.
We did one of those Peripheral Vision episodes with you like a month or so ago, and we visited your apartment. You have like 9 pebbles in your apartment.
Yeah, I signed up. I was like one of the early cats and signed up to some, like, I don't know, they send you 7 pebbles and a bowl of Fruity Pebbles and just everything pebble related, like a bag of pebbles. It was great.
You seem like, is it fair to say that you're an impulse technology buyer?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if it's something that I'm curious about, or it provides a service or promises some kind of a function that is interesting to me, or something that I've always dreamed about, I will get it just so I know what it's about. And sometimes I integrate it, but I would probably say 80% of the things I don't, but then I give them away to people and friends and stuff.
What do you mean when you say integrate? Into your music, into your life?
Just into my life. Like, you know, like the Pebble, I've always wanted some kind of a smartwatch, and I like the idea that you could see text messages, and I also thought it was a great ability to not have to pull out my phone every time I wanted to see a text, you know, so that if I'm having a conversation, at some point I can casually look down and continue talking without the symbolic gesture of reaching into a phone, and that kind of breaks things a little bit in a way that we're affected by.
Let's do a little time travel right now.
Okay.
Let's go back to a young Reggie Watts.
Okay.
Smaller Reggie Watts, smaller. I assume your hair was shorter.
Okay.
Back then. Tell us a little bit about your musical history, and at what point this gear comes into the music you're creating.
I mean, when I was really young, I mean, they obviously didn't have any looping equipment, but I used to mess around with tape decks. I grew up in the 80s, so I would take cassette tapes and get 2 tape recorders, and I would run one, plug it into the other, and I would try to create songs or effects, you know, leaving the mics open, the speaker open, or things of that nature, or tried to rewire speakers, little tiny miniature microphones.
Did you know what you were doing, or were you shocking yourself on a regular?
I used to lick batteries a lot. I don't know why. I thought like licking a 9-volt would give me powers. I don't know. But I was always messing around with why. I would just kind of reverse engineer a lot and take things apart, lay out all the screws, you know, perfectly, so I knew which section at which level, the deconstruction, I can bring it back. But then my cat would jump on the bed, and it would create like essentially what happens with space-time, you know, like a black hole. So it's just like putting a piece of weight on a flat surface, and everything just got swallowed into the black hole, and then I just had a big jumble of screws that I had to guess.
That's a really good analogy for a cat standing on a bed.
Yeah, totally. It's like cats standing on beds. They're like black holes.
So the tinkering that predates the music creation?
I would say so, yeah. I mean, I always loved music, but technology, I mean, I've viewed technology as a means of expressing creativity or interest in understanding things. Since it is creative, it kind of is ultimately a part of how I do things now anyways, to a certain degree.
Was it easier to start out like that? Or were you actually listening to a lot of electronic music at the time, or was it just easier to pick up a tape deck than a guitar?
Yeah, I mean, I had I had a piano, and I think I had a Casio keyboard at some point, but I had a lot of electronic I loved electronics, and so I had like the early Star Wars strategic game. It looked like a little mini computer with like touch screen. So I had that, and sometimes I'd take that apart, or I'd get an X-Wing or something, and I'd take the X-Wing apart, or I would get any numerous variety of video game, and or like small handheld, you know, like what was that called? I forgot what it's called. Anyways, the little Tecmo Bowl or whatever, like little handhold. So I would take any of those things apart at any given time and check it out and see how it functions, if I could.
But you were, I mean, you were playing on you know, classic instruments for a while. You were playing
Yeah.
on pianos and, you know, guitars. I mean, at what point does that shift occur? At what point does this become your kind of primary form of expression?
Well, that came into being, I mean, I had discovered the idea of effects from friends playing guitars and stuff, and like, you know, hitting distortion pedals and like understanding what a distortion pedal is as opposed to a delay pedal, as opposed to a phaser or a flanger and things of that nature. So I kind of learned a bit about effects pedals. I didn't really apply it to my voice back then. I sometimes would run it through my keyboard because I'd play a lot of synth bass. So I would have a fuzz pedal on my synthesizer so it would sound kind of fuzzy. But really, the idea of using my voice in conjunction with guitar pedals didn't happen until probably early 90s when I'd moved to Seattle and was living in the basement of a house that was part of a band that I was in. I mean, it was a house that my band lived in. So we had all of these tape loops, like quarter-inch reel-to-reel machines that we would create delays with, and I would run my vocals through it. There were myriads of effects pedals that we would use in studio production, but the idea, again, evolving from that to actually using it live, that was probably years, maybe 5 years later, so it would have been like 96 when I went to Cornish College of the Arts. My teacher, Jay Clayton, was using a Digitech 16-second delay and using that on her voice and creating loops. And then friends of mine were using a boomerang. So they were doing loops on the boomerang pedal for saxophone and stuff like that. And I was kind of interested in using it for my voice. And then I got an RE101 tape loop echo device, delay device. And I started running my voice through that. And then I became part of an avant-garde jazz group called the Wayne Horvitz 4+1 Ensemble. We were going to tour Europe. I had an RE101, big-ass honking machine with actual tape inside of it. And I was like, this is not going to survive this tour. And just within probably a month before going on tour, Line 6 had created the DL4. And they'd been known for their pods before that, like amp simulators. And they created this DL4, which was a delay modeler. It mimicked any array of delay ever created, digital, analog, otherwise. So I got that. It was much smaller, and I used it as a delay at first. Then I noticed it had a loop function on it. I started using the loop function as a sketch pad for my original band after I came off of tour to say, like, oh, it's kind of a beat like this. And I would do a beat, and I would loop it, and then the band would play along to it, and then I would just take the loop out, and then we would jam on the song. And then after that, I started doing stuff by myself, and that's when I started using it as a live performance thing.
I was going to ask you that. You know, why is that part of the reason why this came in, is so that you could be the only person on stage creating music?
I mean, I think it was just a tool that was usable for to enable maximum flexibility in my performance. So I could either perform as a solo artist or I could perform with a band. If I got hired to be like the piano player for the evening in the background, I could do that and maybe use the effect pedal to do like a subtle beat while I'm playing an improvised piano thing or something like that. So it was really kind of a great tool for me to be able to fill up a lot of space musically for a long period of time and get paid.
To eat up as much time on stage as possible?
Yeah, to just get rid of that time. Just eat it up. Yeah.
How much is the technology actually informing the music you're creating? I mean, I assume if you were like standing up there with a guitar, it would probably not only sound different from an instrumentation standpoint, but you would probably be creating fundamentally different music.
Yeah, yes, for sure. Well, being able to make sounds with your voice, which is something I've always done, enables you to essentially, there's no instrumentation aside from the physicality of your body. So whatever idea I have, as long as I can approximate it vocally, that's kind of the number one thing. The second thing is looping, being able to lay down an idea and have that go on in infinitum definitely inspire me to add layers of things and then to perform on top of those layers. So, I mean, the technology enabled me to project more of my ideas into the world in a complex way.
You're as we said before, you're a big supporter of early technology. You know, you get invited to shows like this, and I'm wondering if you're at the point now where, you know, have you been able to ask a tech company to create something? You know, have you needed something specific in your repertoire?
I mean, to a certain extent, not to like a hardcore hardware level scale, but you know, I'm close with Electro-Harmonix and Mike, who's the original guy, the owner of Electro-Harmonix, and they clue me in on you know, their new products. Like they have this new 45,000 that I'm using, which is a 4-track looper, and they've been cool about saying like anything that you can think of that we can improve in the next design, let us know, and they've taken that to heart. Also. Everyday Looper, which is a iPhone app that was created by Mansing Dolicules, a company out of Paris, actually just one Parisian programmer guy. He's taken some notes that I had about like stereo panning and things like that and added it into the software. And Keezy, which is an app that my friend Jake Lodwick created with his new company, Elapath, is being released soon. And he consulted heavily with me, and I'm actually on their board now, so future apps I'll be consulting on and things of that nature. Apps are a little bit easier, obviously, to create than hardware. Yeah. But, you know, I also worked with Little Bits, which just launched 2 nights ago, I guess, which was started by Aya Badir, who spoke at TED with me the same year I spoke at TED. We met in the hallway, and she had these like little, they're like little pieces of electronics that do various things that snap together magnetically. And so I started thinking about, oh, that'd be great if we had a looper version of that, or you had effects that you could do in a chain, blah, blah, blah. And then like a year later, I sat down and we just brainstormed. And then a year later after that, we have a synth kit that it's not all inspired by me, but I would say a portion of it is. And the engineer, Paul, electrical engineer designer, really it was kind of his dream to create a modular synthesizer, and now we're going to work on a looping module as well. So, you know, bits and pieces.
You mentioned the app before, and I know that it's it seems like you're always looking to shrink your gear down, you know, smaller and smaller. And you know, how far away are we from Reggie Watts on stage, iPhone, microphone? That's the show.
I've done some shows with just my iPhone. The problem is, what I love is I love the tactile sensation of knobs and pans and faders. I think that there's nothing that replaces that. You know exactly what's happening. It could be you turn off all the lights and I'd still know where everything is. Obviously, a lit screen also shows information in the dark, but there's something about knobs and faders where I don't have to look. With a screen, you have to look. You have to know where you're at. I mean, if you know the general area of the screen, but it all feels like one surface. So I do appreciate that. You know, at some point, if interfaces are more intuitive, like, you know, I'm in a movie now called Creative Control, which is all about augmented reality. And these AR glasses in the future, essentially using, you know, the technology that's been around since the early 90s for chopper pilots and fighter pilots, where they actually paint the images on the back of the retina, so that
like the heads-up display.
The heads-up display is actually painted on the back of your retina, so it appears to be floating in space, not like the like Google Glass or or any of the other wearables that are coming out, but something that actually goes onto the back of your retina or on the back of your eyeball.
It sounds painful.
It sounds painful, but it kind of makes sense to then be able to convert the reality into anything that you want. Obviously, sophisticated sensors and, you know, graphic stabilization, all that stuff. But that being able to look down at a surface and then just say that this surface, like draw it and then have it stay stable and then use that as the interface, would be amazing. It's really about inputting the information and interfacing with the computer is the problem that I have with just using a computer or just using a touch screen. Yeah. It's handy for sure, but we need to improve that. It's kind of still in the caveman era.
I mean, it's also just not as interesting to watch on stage, right? Especially if you're one person on stage
Yes.
something needs to be going on
True.
while you're up there.
You bring up a massively important point, which is my pet peeve. When you see people DJing off of laptops or composers and producers, electronic producers, looking at laptops, you don't know if they're checking Facebook, email, editing a photo, surfing the web, or are they actually performing? And it doesn't really look that badass to be moving a mouse around and going, check out this unmuting in this area of the screen. What? You know.
It was like, I always think about that Flock of Seagulls video where he just hits the one button on the sequencer.
Right.
We've like gone to the logical extent of that now.
And then like sticks a wallet in the key. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's something about instrumentation and performance that there has to be some kind of a gap that's filled in there.
Yeah. I noticed you did a TEDx talk, and actually I think entirely in a British accent. It was called When Technology Fails.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, I mean, that's got to happen, right? I mean, things happen. Either there's human error, or cord gets frayed.
Yeah.
And when you're relying, so when it's just you on stage, you've got nobody else to fall back on, and you're relying solely on these gadgets. What do you do when one of them fails?
For me, sometimes it can be a bummer, but a lot of times it's kind of an exciting opportunity because you have to deal in the moment. I have to still keep doing something. So if something fails, and I've had lighting systems fail, I've had entire sound systems fail, I've had particular devices in my setup fail, or I've had power go out so I have access to none of the devices. In that particular case, I kind of switch into another gear because at the end of it all, I know that as long as I can produce sound with my voice, I can do something interesting on stage. So in a weird way, I kind of like it when stuff gets screwed up because I can definitely modify the performance, and it presents a real-time challenge.
Here's hoping something goes horribly wrong on stage tonight.
I hope so too. I mean, people out there, wherever they are. Oh no, they're right here.
We when we visited your place, and we saw your setup. I guess I can't even call it a setup because one of the things that continually fascinates me about you is you don't really. I mean, A, you don't really do much in the way of practicing. You get that out on stage, and B, you don't record. You don't really record things other than the live shows. You're not really recording albums.
Yeah, no, I mean, at some point I will, but what ends up happening is I'm performing so much that I don't have the energy to go and record anything. Sometimes people record my sets, which is awesome, and they'll put it up on YouTube. Sometimes I will ask someone to record my sets. It's really kind of a mixed bag. I don't have any procedure, but definitely in the future I do plan on making a music album, just a music album, and I'm trying to do more filmic video work right now, so that's definitely made and created for consumption. Terrible word, but just for people to see over and over again.
But is there some value in this time where everything is recorded? And you do a show and 50 people have their smartphones up and are recording it. Is there value in this notion of kind of like a ethereal performance that no one will ever see again? That's it, that you had to be there.
Yeah, I personally like that. I mean, obviously I had to be comfortable with that because it happens all the time. But I do think that there is something really great about just being at a particular performance and just seeing it as though it were 1756. It's you could write about it. The lighting was very dim, and forget it. It was just really good. I had a good time. But I do appreciate that. I do like that. But at the same time, I like deciding to make something too.
Let's do this thing where we get up and
let's do the thing.
And you tell us about your rig a little bit.
Yeah, let's rig it up. Rigatoni.
As I mean, this is not quite the case here, but as we were saying before about making things smaller and smaller, I really like the idea of having all of your gear be able to fit into a backpack.
Yeah.
Which you had the backpack.
I did have the backpack, yes. All of this fits in my back. Well, not this. This doesn't fit in a backpack. Please retract that. Yes, all of this fits in the backpack. I just enjoy, I used to have a lot of gear. I used to have 2 synthesizers and stuff, and I was like, how can I reduce things? So this is my original pedal that I've used forever. And this is the Line 6 DL4. It's a delay pedal, so it does basic delays, you know. Check, 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 right? Check. And then it has looping, loop. So I can, you know, create things on the fly. So with just this one pedal, I used to do shows mostly with just this. Then I started messing around.
Just on your voice?
Just my voice, just this.
Yeah.
That was most of my show up until about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Then I got the 45,000, which enabled, or 2880 at the time, which enables you to, it's like a 4-track recorder, but it's a looping machine. So I can put drums on one track, I can put bass on the next track, hi-hat on the next track, a vocal on the next track, and then once they're going, I can drop things out, I can push things back in, I can pan things left and right. So that's really nice. It has some other features, like you can have a click track, so you can play in time, quantize it so it's all even and stuff like that. It has MIDI stuff. I never use the MIDI.
This has got to be the newest edition.
This is the newest edition. This
It's the
is
least dusty of all of them.
Yeah, this is the Teenage Engineering OP1, which is a micro synthesizer. I've been waiting for this object to be created probably for 20 years. Because I was trying to find modules that would interface with the MIDI thing. With that, finally, these Swedes, they got it right. They just know how to do things. They make great pop music and great electronics. But yeah, so it's great. So it enables me, right? And then, so nice synth sounds. Yeah. And then I can run that through my looper. This is just a reverb pedal, so standard church sounds, whatever that means.
You care to, you got some time on the clock?
Yeah, let's extemporize.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right. I'm gonna leave.
Oh yeah, are you gonna leave? Okay.
You don't want me.
Do whatever you want.
You don't. I'll enjoy it from up
here. Yeah. Give it out. Or give it in, up. Give it up. Give it a direction. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna start with composition 6, which is not on the. If you check the program. It does state that it is composition 4, and I've changed that last minute just because getting kind of a vibe of the whole conference, I didn't think 4 was right. So we're going to go straight with this. Okay.
what you believe and what it would seem, but now we've heard the worst of it all. You're gonna be there when the news gets broken, and if you're doing your best, you need to go with the rest. It's another man waiting over for time that you hear. Oh, yes, I wanna dance with me, but you can't be dance with me, 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 if you wanna sing and you wanna and you need to and you wanna we need to know, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, let's hope this one works out. This next one is one that we're going to be releasing in a couple of years from now. We're going to be using some different procedures normally than we would use in order to produce such a thing. And we don't want to give those up yet because they're proprietary and obviously still under legal copyright consideration. So patent pending. Enjoy this song. I wanna see you on the face, smile again when we're sitting, I'm no fool to make a nice side. But they so great the vibes, if it don't they blow blade the flies, sing it to cross, get out, take a day, don't fly, biggie, biggie, big, dump, dump, jump, down. You know, anybody can see you on your feels, but you don't know, baby, it's not about the feels. You get to go fuck about the face, think about say, so I like the face, shove it like don't fly the face, sing it, don't, Thank you. Oh, yes, sorry. Technology is around us, and you should be aware of that. Okay. Okay. Thanks a lot for coming to the GeoCities event, and we are definitely excited about that by you guys being here. I've been running as a creative angel fire. I often think of myself as the early pioneer, so I guess that makes me an old pioneer. This is called keyboard simulation. Take off your bracelet at night. It will save you from your hands, feeling like they're separated from your body in the middle of the night. Panic induces as you think that you might have lost your hand, but blood rushes back in soon as you release the tension of the bracelet that is on your hand. Eight o'clock, 7 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Those are our numbers associated to time. And if you don't believe me, look at your watch. You'll see that it's a series of numbers indicating the division of the perception of time in order to supply commerce to function. Gesundheit. Thank you. For my dismount piece, as you all know, and I say this often, but we are currently living in a simulation, and I think that the indications are obviously the synchronicities. And I think it's funny that we make shows about living in a simulated reality when we actually are in the reality. So it reinforces the idea of, you know, oh, we're not in the reality, but we are. So because of that, and because of the advanced technology required to maintain this level of immersion, we did invent sleep in order to kind of reset the system, and just throwing a bunch of randomized dreams and visuals and auditorial kind of feelings and, I guess, diminutive all the way to maximal issues that erupt or are derived by the conscious mind throughout the sleep pattern, just to save processing power. In the future, we will be able to do away with sleep altogether, so we'll be able to be full-time in the reality, but we'll see about that. Remember to keep putting liquids and other solids, which are not poisons, into your body in order to maintain the body from not dying and then being zapped back to the beginning of consciousness. So with that, I would like to present, this is called the reality within the reality outside of it, but back inside of it again one more time. Okay? Here we go. No more baby oil. Okay, here we go. This is it. This one goes out to Front 242 and all their work that they've done in Belgium, and also Trent Reznor for his family creating a system of heating devices. Okay. One, two, three, four. Sorry, guys, hold on 1 second. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Can you feel it? All right. Cool. 2009, everybody. Let's do this. What? iPhone 4, iPhone 4, iPhone 4, iPhone 4, iPhone 4, 4. Android was young. Android was young. Android was young. Nokia was still having fun. In series, Nokia. Every time when I want to say, when you get it up, it's ain't fine. Shouldn't go my level, give me lost in my mind. Change, give me this fire. Bitty face a lot more. Cause baby, I want you, but you don't even know what I want. Anything you when you know what you're saying, and you feel like it could be a better day, and you know what you need, because baby got me wondering this time of this. I said I wanna be the, but you ain't got the real. You need to be the, but I won't need to see ya. If I would, I wanna be the for you, but you. Take you on the love net, cause I see you every day, but you're carrying on. Yeah, sugar, what you saying? Wanna tell you, but you're telling me, but oh yeah. Remember Thank you very much.
Reggie Watts!
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Drop my thing.